Dire team ban.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Team Liquid and Virtus.pro. This is game 2 of this best-of-3 series. Team Liquid took game number 1 by just a huge landslide, just going and taking down almost every single fight. It seemed very even at the beginning, but they made sure that the Alchemist really couldn't get rolling. He was stuck on a Shadow Blade for a while, and the damage and pressure, the survivability from the supports could not be understated. Whether windrunning and meching, whether disrupting defensively, all these awesome things to keep their team in the fight, and what it brought. It's just really, really awesome. Either way, we're going to be going on to game 2. Similar bands coming on out, but I want to welcome back once again my co-caster Blightwind. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. Looking forward to this game 2, and like you had said, game 1 Liquid was it wasn't so much that Virtus.pro misplayed as Liquid was firing on all cylinders. Everything was working for them. They were working as a 5-man, perfectly oiled machine, and we'll have to see if they can pull that out for game 2. I imagine they're feeling great, so I probably will see them play extremely well just because of that emotional high they're on right now.
Definitely. So, I'm curious to see what Virtus.pro is contemplating for this next ban. Generally speaking, it would be the Wisp. They do have first pick available, but Virtus.pro is one of those teams that doesn't kind of snap it up first immediately. It's kind of one of those things where they like to pick it up if they feel it suits their lineup, but it's not an lock just because of the fact that it is available here. So, the question is whether or not they want to deny it to Team Liquid, or if they want to go for a ban. You mentioned the Magnus or the Lone Druid. I want to give a shout out to the Shadow Demon. If they ban out IX Mike's main hero, then they might be able to pick apart the lineup a little bit more so, because every single time they try to initiate it was a big shutdown. It just pretty much negated entirely by the Shadow Demon performing so well. But we do see the Magnus taken out in the banning phase, and that does open Team Liquid up to pretty much whatever they want.
So we'll see the Magnus does get banned out. We see a Wisp picked up right away.
Interesting. That is.
We'll have to see. Oop, go ahead.
Yeah, that is fun. Wisp, like I said, isn't a hero that Virtus.pro drafts all the time. It's not instantaneous, but that isn't to say that they don't use the hero well. NS is an amazing Wisp. He does some of the coolest stuff that, it teaches Wisp players just by seeing how he loves to play it, how aggressively he goes with it, but still very, very stably and securely because he plays it so well. But, again, we don't see it all the time. It's not the lineup Virtus.pro generally prefers to run, but in this case, they're pulling out all the stops. They feel it is a very, very appropriate for these circumstances here. But how do you feel about Team Liquid's response?
Oh, I absolutely love Gyro. I think he's incredibly powerful. We'll most likely see TC on him again. He generally will play. He plays all of those late game, I'm just going to farm forever. And we see the Wisp Chaos Knight, an incredibly powerful dual lane coming out here. So we'll have to see what Virtus.pro looks like to round this out. I don't know if they'll end up going for a tri-lane or maybe pick up like an Enigma or a Nature's Prophet and then they can send that Lone Druid on the off lane. It's an interesting setup as it stands now. The lane's pretty open, pretty ambiguous.
Yeah. It's a little bit difficult to tell, but one thing to mention is that KSI loves to run Lone Druid on the off lane against all odds. He sees that as an opportunity to channel his inner bulldog and just to really, really maneuver around the creep waves and control the creep equilibrium so that he is getting that experience in a way that's not going to bring him death over and over and over again. But as long as they keep Virtus.pro farming up that Wisp, as long as he's doing the pulls on the neutrals and getting that independent experience, it's going to set it up so that this combo can be very powerful. If they were Radiant, I would say that there is a possibility of them going for the mid pulls, even though it's very, very difficult and has to be very precisely done. Either way, we do see here that in this situation, they're on the Dire, and I expect it to be a Wisp CK top, and then as you mentioned, they could go for a Nature's Prophet to enhance their global presence as well as push presence in synergy with the Lone Druid, or they could just be going for another support to make sure that lane is won as much as possible, because they're going to be going up against Bulba's Clockwork here, and Bulba's Clockwork is one thing that he's not always going to dominate or do anything flashy in the laning phase, but he's going to survive. He's going to get that experience, and he's going to make an impact on those team fights.
Oh, definitely, and against a melee carry like Chaos Knight, I mean, he can try and Reality Rift himself out of cogs, but it's not always a guaranteed thing, and it'll be definitely difficult to do if you've got a Clock who's cogged you in and got Battery Assault going, constantly stunning you down. It's something that you'll see generally done against melee carries in general because they really can't escape once they're actually in those cogs.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if they maybe go for somebody else to help tear down that clock. To help, so then Chaos Knight can actually reality rift himself out.
Yeah, those are the interesting interactions there, and we'll see how it proceeds on through. But one thing I really like about Virtus.pro's lineup is how they're drafting against this Rubik. They're not giving him any really viable spell steals here. He has the potential to pick up the Chaos Bolt, and in my mind, that's about it. There's a couple of so-so spells. The Wisp Spirits are all right, but Wisp in general, the Tether, the Overcharge, the Relocate, you steal any of those, and it's half a spell. You get one benefit, but not the other one. You can't provide it to another hero. And with Lone Druid, you steal the bear, but he doesn't have items, and it's just all these different things. Rubik is gonna, generally speaking, have a hard time finding his use in this scenario here. He still has great lane presence, he still has telekinesis, but beyond Chaos Bolt and maybe Reality Rift potentially, it just means that Rubik is going to be a standard, I can disable things support, but he's not going to be able to get in the thick of things and make magic happen.
Yeah, we'll have to see, again, it's a... I don't imagine they'll look to pick up like a Tide Hunter or an Enigma or something like that, because it definitely seems like they don't want to give Rubik anything super useful. Like you said, as it stands now, Chaos Bolt is pretty much the only thing that he actually will be able to turn into use. And we see they're definitely looking to target down IX Mike. So far, the Shadow Demon has made it through, but we'll have to see if he can snag that one and do some magic again. Rubik Shadow Demon, it's a little bit of an awkward tri-lane because you don't have a whole lot. It's a super defensive one. It doesn't really allow you to go for kills all the time.
Yeah.
Follow up with that disruption.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things they can do from here. They definitely need to get some mobility, though. TeamLiquid commonly drafts up a Disruptor for fluff and stuff, which can use a lot of potential with that Glimpse on the CK/Wisp combo. Another interesting pick, I don't think they're going to run in this scenario, but it's possible, is Korok could run mid on Brewmaster, which is a great way to negate a lot of the potential of Lone Druid. Just putting a Drunken Haze on the bear, it's really hard to lock him down, but the problem is mobility. He doesn't have Blink Dagger early on enough to be relevant, and so it relies on Clockwork transitioning out towards the bottom, towards the mid lane, and trying to show a bit more map presence that Brewmaster can't really fill those shoes in. So I think more so the Gyrocopter might have to run in the mid lane, because Gyrocopter, until he gets his BKB, is going to be highly susceptible to being ganked up by the Wisp CK, and if they put all their eggs in the basket of the Gyro, it's probably just going to be turned over and crack them all, because he is just too vulnerable. He's relatively quick on his feet, but Wisp CK much faster, even if there is an IX Mike Purge. But we see the Brewmaster actually picked up by Virtus.pro, and what do you think about that? It's pretty interesting.
I think it actually works well, because one of the things they did kind of need was some decent team fight. They had some great ganking with the Chaos Knight. Wisp, they had good push with the Lone Druid. So the Brew allows them a little bit of freedom if they ever get into big 5v5 clashes with that Primal Split. And I imagine maybe even that last pick will be something similar as well. Like I said, maybe an Enigma. Nature's Prophet is banned out, so they can't go with that one. But the Black Hole would help fill in some of the team fight gaps. Visage, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the question is whether or not they'll be able to respond to the global gank presence. Again, they don't have a glimpse, they don't have a Nature's Prophet to jump on in, so I think this is just going to come down to TeamLiquid playing their own style of respond to threats immediately. They jump in, they all teleport down to a tower, suddenly you have a bunch of supports at your back, and as long as you have those permanent structures, those Obelisk 2, Town Portal Scroll 2, it's going to enable them to actually participate long range, and so I think that's just going to be good response from TeamLiquid, which fortunately for them is kind of their forte. But going up against Lina here, it shows that Virtus.pro really want to contest their lanes. They see Lone Druid down at bottom, the CK Wisp, Lina up top, and Brewmaster in the mid, and they want to put out a lot of damage very quickly. As far as TeamLiquid's draft, like I said, I would look into a durable carry, something that can survive a little bit better. They're up against an Anti-Mage now, so maybe, up against Alina here, so maybe an Anti-Mage or something like that would be promising, but the problem is he'd have to get his Manta very fast to be able to maybe dodge CK's Bolt, get out of Entangle, or get out of the Drunken Haze. So there are just kind of benefits, kind of pros and cons to that kind of a selection here, and we'll have to see what they end up going with, if it's a carry at all. I mean, they could just go for a really solid mid.
And there you go. It's a Sand King So I don't know how they're gonna run this. I guess maybe clock, or I guess they could do a Visage mid. That has been definitely done before, and it is actually surprisingly powerful because Visage with that Soul Assumption can trade extremely well.
I'm curious to see if they're going to do another aggressive no-carry tri-lane, where they go and just say, okay, well, our strategy is shut down Illidan/Airman as much as possible, and they want to contest one of the most devastating lanes of all, with CK, Wisp, and Lina M1. If they really, really wanted to, this is the kind of lineup they could work with here, because Sand King can burrow strike on 2 very, very easily, with the fact that Wisp has to be close at hand to that Chaos Knight in order to be effective. So they could run all 3 up top. They could run TC on the SK, Ix Mike on the Rubik, and Fluff on the Visage all up on the top lane, and just leave Bulba for the safe lane farm. Because I don't see much benefit. The reason I talk about it this way is because I don't see that much benefit to putting TC in a farm position down on bottom. He's obviously not going to be able to carry that hard. He can get a blink, that'll be great, but this is going to be interesting. One thing I gotta say, I personally love Sand King being picked up at all. Like, he's one of my favorite heroes in the first place, so being able to jump in here and see his initiation potential, it's going to be impressive, but it looks like they actually maybe want to run a tri-lane clockwork. Bulba already picking up Rocket Flare instead of Cogs, and we have seen this before as well, so it looks like TC solo bottom. It's going to be Bulba running up on the top lane or the mid lane. It looks like Korok's going up top. He got the bracer so he can survive that burst combo of the Chaos Bolt and Light Strike Array. And this is lanes that I wouldn't have expected, and I think that's the point. I think they're trying to throw Virtus Pro off a little bit in their expectations of how to respond to this, and we're going to see down bottom Lone Druid versus the Sand King, and then in the mid lane it's going to be the Clockwork Goblin versus the Brewmaster, and that'll be very, very interesting. Definitely not matchups that you see every day.
Yeah, and I think you've got it pretty much right on the money. They're looking for unorthodox lanes that will catch Virtus Pro in. Even if they can get one of the lane matchups to be extremely favorable towards them, their other 2 lanes should be decent. Looks like we're going to see Chaos Eye pick up a haste rune on the bear, and he's going to look to pull the creep wave. You know, standard cheeky play with the Lone Druid. You sit here waiting with the Spirit Bear, and you can pull the creep wave into a more favorable position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's going to be that relevant. Either way, it's still going to be a 1v1, and although the bear can have a little bit more room to harass with, I really think it's up to TC here just to pull the creep wave right back around, because the thing that he wants to happen the least is for it to clash under tower. He does have Caustic Finale skilled up, so he will be able to do some damage to the bear every time one of the creeps dies, but it's only going to accomplish so much. We do see the bear taking a lot of damage from the tower. That's like 6 tower auto attacks, and the bear has dropped down to 280. TC in a good spot here, and I honestly think the Spirit Bear is going to be afraid of moving in against that Caustic, especially since until it gets the Demolish passive, it's sitting at 0% magic damage reduction. And so, yeah, that bear can't get anywhere near, and it's a very interesting draft and very interesting pick, and we already see it doing wonders down on bottom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, SK, honestly, he can do 1v1 extremely well because of that Caustic. It allows him to put out some essentially free damage, and it's a ton of damage. Looks like Tame My Wild is already getting kind of manhandled around, the Cogs draining all of his mana, so he can't even clap, and now Clock can just trade with him with some right clicks and maybe a Rocket Flare for a little bit of extra damage.
Yeah, and they do have the bottle coming out for both of them. The couriers have those delivered. So back and forth. Who do you think is going to win those trades more so? Who do you think is going to have more advantage as time goes by? Just kind of not even counting up the runes, because that's going to be kind of based on the supports and their rotations.
Honestly, I think things favor the Clock because, I mean, Drunken Haze is very good, but Clock...
Oh, Reality Rift up on top of the tether. 3-second Chaos Bolt to follow, but they do get lifted up. He is Grave Chilled as well. Korok going to walk away with that barrage, doing a ton of damage, but baiting a little too hard. Magic Stick comes out, but he still takes a fall. Too much right-click damage, and in the end, they have to disengage. The supports can't do this alone. Fluff on the run with that big movement speed boost, but it's not enough to get out of Arzard's beautiful Light Strike Array. And here, Fluff is in too bad of a position. He's going to get locked as well. 2-0. I don't even know what that telekinesis is supposed to accomplish, but actually Korok is coming back in with a barrage. The problem is it's level 2 versus level 4. Chaos Knight has a lot to deliver here, and he's actually going to get a Reality Rift under the tether. They're looking for more with the Dragon Slave to bring him down again. This is disastrous for Liquid. The opposite of how we saw the beginning of the game last time around. Ice Might taking a lot. They don't have enough for anything more than Reality. Of course, the cooldown being unavailable there. It looks like they're going to finally disengage, but shoot, 3-0 in this tri lane. Virtus Pro just opening it wide open.
Yeah, I'm like you said, I don't really understand, like, the first 2 kills, it was a little bit of aggression that ended up failing for them. Okay, why Korok went in for that 3rd kill, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, if you can get an advantage, you could probably dominate this lane, but you're up against 3 stunners, and that tether stun is pretty much guaranteed with that reality rift. So I don't know what he was thinking. They've got a ton of burst, a ton of stun, and it was just in general very silly. Thankfully, TC seems to be doing decently well down here. He's actually ahead on CS. He's at 15-3. The Caustic doing a ton of damage, taking a few tower shots, but that's not a huge deal.
Yeah. And that's not something you usually see up against a Lone Druid. Lone Druid generally in a 1v1 situation, especially up against a melee hero, is going to control that lane pretty hardcore, but in this situation, he is just playing it so nicely, knows, as we saw last time, knows how that Lone Druid needs to play, and KSI taking a lot of damage here. Shouldn't be enough, that Burrow Strike too long of a cooldown, but just harassing him back, there's no more healing left. We're only 2 tangos, and that's not even going to give him half his HP back. So he is getting gradually more and more forced off in this war of attrition, easily going the way of TC, and he'll have his arcanes very, very quickly. Up on top, we do see a ton of damage coming out on Gyrocopter. Korok is dropping quickly, but Chaos Knight falls first. They do get the big stun, I think on all 3, but Korok is still too big with that magic stick, and it looks like it's going to be a complete trade the other way. That is what they need, and that is what they got. Bringing down the Wisp really quickly after the CK, limiting the damage output, because Chaos Knight has all that damage. Lina has some here and there when her cooldowns are up, but as soon as those are down, it's really the Chaos Knight that they had to pick off, and indeed they did. Really good focus, really good trade, and in the end, they're the ones that take the 3-0 swing.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they needed, and this is kind of what I was expecting them to look to do. Soul Assumption, like I had said, so
Tama
powerful.
Weld gonna get locked. Too much. He just got closed in by that battery assault, and the cogs kept him in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, even when he's level 6, he's only 5 at the moment, but he pretty much Primal Split will be his only hope to survive that, I think. And like I was saying up top, I think they were looking to maximize on the damage of Soul Assumption and the Rocket Barrage. Rocket Barrage allows so much damage to come out so quickly. You fill up on those souls, and you can just nuke somebody instantly and pretty much get the souls back up if you're quick enough with one Rocket Barrage. Like, that's how much damage is going out.
No.
Yeah, but one thing that I gotta say about the fights up on top is when you're going from behind, when you have that level disadvantage because you've already lost 3 heroes and fed them away, it's really, really interesting that they were able to make so much out of that exchange. Like, they, well, obviously, going 3-0, losing 3-0, that was them being out of position, a little bit over-aggressive, trying to control the lane a little bit too hard. But the situation that followed with the team fight that they got only a couple minutes later, when you're down 3 kills and make that swing, when the enemy's being a little bit over-aggressive, that's just showing how powerful they can be in that kind of exchange, in that kind of a try versus try situation. They have each other's backs, they know how to rotate the disables, and they're doing a great job with this Visage, which is, like you said, dishing out a ton of damage following on through that Soul Assumption. It's amazing hero in this scenario, and along with that, the Magic 6 doing work. We do see, however, that Korok gets 2 seconds stunned up. They do get the Telekinesis and the Grave Shield active, but Korok taking too much damage. Will he fall? No. Boba in the fray. Doesn't have enough for more spells, but he did at least get a single stun. They get a kill on the Lina long range, looking for more on the Illidan. I think it's enough. 2 second stun on Boba, but the Soul Assumption does lock him down. Now, everybody on low life. Fluff will drop here due to the Primal Split finishing things off. But without the Earth Panda stun, they have to throw up Rubik in the air like they just don't care for a little bit longer before they can follow through with the kill, presumably. But that Fire Panda is all their damage. There we go. To clean it up. A quick disconnect coming out from Korok, but he was all the way headed back to base in the first place. Now, down on bottom, we also see that there was a solo kill on the Lone Druid, which is huge. We've seen over and over TC been controlling this lane, been very, very active and effective, and he's been able to get that kill, get that pick off there, but I'm not sure. Presumably it's just from that Caustic, from that Burrow Strike action. Alright, NS has picked up a bottle for the Wisp, allowing the CK to stay in the fray for a lot longer, but beyond that, he's just not really working in these quick exchanges. There's not that much time to just sip away out of combat in these scenarios, and it's mostly been going the way of Liquid, especially with that really, really good bubble rotation.
So my mic cord got unplugged.
Ouch.
I am back in. Let's go. And I was going to say that I had seen sort of the beginnings of what was happening down bottom just as the action stopped. And I quickly jumped up there. But TC was actually extremely low. And he ended up kind of juking towards those set of trees right above the side shop. And from the looks of it, it was simply just he managed to get enough time to channel Epicenter and then just jumped in on the Lone Druid himself. And in a 1v1 matchup against someone who's already behind, Epicenter can do a ton of damage.
Yeah, that's really big, especially since he presumably got it on his range form, which obviously doesn't have that much HP to work with. Either way, that Epicenter into Burrow Strike combo is something you really have to watch out for every time he leaves the Fog of War. So it's one of those circumstances where if he can get it, if he can bait him on into it, then he can just turn it around like crazy. And just showing his skill build exactly what his intentions are. 2 in Caustic, 4 in Burrow Strike, making sure he can control the lane, get those long-range stuns, and then as a final thought, go for that Sandstorm. We do see mid lane was pressured, but it's actually just going to be Tame My Wild throwing an illusion their direction, and I don't think they're going to fall for that. Either way, that does allow the Brewmaster to walk away safely from the tower, which would have been a 1 versus 4 situation.
And it looks like actually that we're going to see a rotation. Tame My Wild is looking to go in on TC here.
Yeah.
We might just see him like burrow into the trees. Yeah, he waits for the clap, then burrows away.
Yeah, he's able to disengage, and there is a rotation. They realize that very, very quickly. Bulba can be here with that hookshot, looking for a quick hit, the Rocket Flare to give him some vision, and they can easily close in on somebody like Brewmaster, preventing him from jumping on out. The Rocket Flare gave some vision to the south. Tame My Wild can't leave just yet. Gonna try to TP. It looks like he will get out, but if that flare had been any far further to the north, it would have easily meant that they could have gotten the stun and brought down the Brewmaster. They do actually bring down the Spirit Bear in response, though. So they take a tier 1, they take a Spirit Bear, and it just shows that they're actually making the most of their movement, whereas Brewmaster was just kind of doing it to try to survive.
Yeah, and we're going to see a tower go down. I don't know if someone missed that last hit or if they just decided to give more gold to the team as a whole, because actually all of them do need some farm. I mean, Clock definitely benefits from farm. Gyro needs it. This Sand King presumably wants some. They're looking for a fast blink on him. But they're just going to trade tier 1s for the looks of it and call it a day. They are a little bit ahead in terms of kills, and I think they're decently ahead in terms of farm as well.
Yeah.
So trading tower is not a huge deal.
But one thing to keep in mind is that Relocate is available, ready to rock and roll, maybe on the mid lane. Bulba in a pretty bad spot, and the hookshot won't be available for creeps. But right now, Illidan and NS just willing to go and put pressure down on bottom. Fluff gets caught out. That's going to be an easy kill, no problem at all. Familiar's going to just have to walk away before they themselves are going to get just farmed away. But that is a really big deal when they have so much mobility. The tether activating gives 455 movement speed for that Chaos Knight. It's insane, and with the global Relocate, they are now a force to be reckoned with. That's pretty much been the issue with their lineup this entire game is level 1 through 5, Wisp doesn't contribute nearly as much as, say, a Visage or maybe a Rubik. He has a lot of potential, but in the early stages, he's just kind of a floating blue ball that can do some damage, do some stun, but really not accomplish that much more. But when this Relocate comes out, it changes the pace entirely, and we do see, with the Spears active, they're going to go onto mid lane, looking for some action onto TC. No, switching over Ix Mike. Too much. Reality Rift goes on through after that. Telekinesis is not going to happen. Either way, nice burrow onto TC, but he's going to channel this Epi. Is it going to go on through? He does get the Epi off, but Chaos Knight a little bit too swift. Going to get right on out of there. The Bear still on target. The Entangle hits, and with that too much damage onto TC, a clap to follow. They're going to go onto Fluff as well. Nice cogs from Bulba, but he put himself in a bad spot. They pop off the Primal Split, doing a lot of damage to Bulba. He will fall, and now they're going to look. They got a beautiful tornado up on Visage. Clock's still alive. I'm not even sure how, but he did get dropped down in the end. Now back over to Fluff. He was tornadoed up. He is stunned down now, and with this reality, they're going to finish it off. But Fluff does actually pick up a kill on the Wisp in return. However, did get to focus it on the CK. Didn't get that full damage from the Soul Assumption onto his main target there. And that does mean that it's going to be, in the end, Virtus Pro taking it 10-9.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Epicenter literally hit nothing. I think it might have gotten a couple pulses off on the Spirit Bear, and that was about it. Wisp got out because of the Relocate time ending, and...
Oh no, Wisp did die. He did get picked off by Visage in the end, but still.
Oh, yes. No, he when Epicenter went off, he had actually gotten jumped out from Relocate, and then I think he just hoofed it on down.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, the Epicenter hit nothing. Chaos Knight was already out of there, like you had said, he's got a huge amount of move speed. And then everyone else was kind of up by the tower, so that was a huge chunk of their damage to wasted.
Oh,
Absolutely
relocate up
wasted.
top. TC in a bad spot. He does have rank 4 Burrow. Tries to use it during the reality ref. He got hit by the tether already, but this 4-second stun might be enough to lock him down. Time is ticking away. TC has that Vanguard so darn beefy, trying to burrow out. Will he get it? Low ground. He gets it up onto the cliff, and he is completely out of position, out of danger here. Bulba missing that hook shot. Unfortunately, no retaliation for them, but nevertheless, that was a successful burrow strike, and now he just burrows right back on down, will walk away. That was so close, but the reason that he survived that long was because of his Vanguard pickup. I saw it, I questioned it, and now I have nothing to fear, because TC knows what he's doing. He knows he needs to survive to be in the middle of this action, and obviously just paying its weight in gold right there.
Yeah, like when I originally saw the Ring of Health, my first thought was a Lincoln Sphere to help stop like the Chaos Bolt and stuff like that, some of these single target spells. But the Vanguard, like you said, it paid dividends there. He had dropped down to, what was it, like 24 health or something crazy like that? Like he was incredibly low. Just manages to burrow onto the high ground.
Mm-hmm. So that is a really big deal for him to survive. Now he can move on towards his Blink with really no fear, or he could just go for a BKB and stay a bit more in the action. Blink is great for going for the Epi Blink combination of spells, but you can still kind of just burrow strike on in, get a good burrow off, and then with your BKB active, guarantee your channel. The only thing to stop it really is that Entangle proc. But if it's pretty much those two options, and right now TC looks like he just wants to be in the middle of the action. That Vanguard really showing that if he can take a bunch of right clicks from the Bear, from the Phantasms, from the Brewlings, all those little things, little pinpricks, if he can block 40 damage from most of those there, he's going to have a very high effective health, which is kind of uncommon for a Sand King, generally being like a glass cannon caster type of melee strength.
Yes, for sure, like absolutely. And like you said, he's looking to just get in the middle of things, give him a little bit of HP, give him that damage block. Normally, Vanguard isn't a popular choice simply because past like 25, 30 minutes, the damage block is essentially worthless, and generally their armor. We do see a nice little deny.
Yeah, I actually kind of think Liquid threw that to them. Like, they had nobody nearby to clear that last final hit, and Brewmaster had a pretty good full 1 second window where he was able to deny it. So good that he was there and focused on doing so, but it just it seems like Liquid, if they really wanted to, could have pressed that a bit harder.
Yeah, it was a little bit of, I mean, I understand they're a little bit afraid of the relocate, of the primal split that's online. Like, there is a good amount of team fight that they're up against, and they still need a little bit of farm. Korok doesn't really have anything huge on himself yet. He's only got treads and a bracer. IX Mike and Fluff have essentially nothing. I mean, they're playing your typical support. There is a mech finished on Fluff, but IX Mike has basically nothing at the moment. And TC's only sitting on that Vanguard and Arcane. It's not like he has a Blink. It's not like he has a BKB or something like that that'll allow him to seriously get mixed into these fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is kind of a little bit of a time period where they both kind of draw the line. They have their little wards up here and there where they want to put some pressure out, try to get some vision on somebody farming overextended, but as long as they're not screwing up, there's generally not going to be too much action except for these runes. And here we do see Bulba with that invisible rune, starting off onto KSI, misses his ulti though, so just going to pull in the Bear and getting it entangled up himself. He sets himself up to be initiated hardcore. Now all their cooldowns have popped though, coming back on in. They're going to turn this around pretty nicely. Korok takes a lot of damage from that stun, but now following it on through, big epicenter going across, a lot of damage. The primal split does pop, but Illidan has dropped too low. He will be the first to fall, and now looking for more. Arzart, no, he's going to be able to walk on out. The Familiars can't close the distance, especially with Visage right now. Just put up in the air. Ike's Mike stunned on out, and this might be a kill with that Entangle proc for sure. Tame My Wild setting it up nicely, and now want to go for more, but the Familiars and the Visage himself have been relentless in killing, burning down this Lina. Fluff gets that kill, double kill in the end, but KSI brings one down himself. TC still in the action, plenty of health to work with, if not mana, going for more, but this call down, that's going to be the one thing that they need to keep him in play. And right now just trying to finish off KSI, but it's so much health to work through. Burrows all over the place, the Familiars no stone form, he's still too darn tanky, and if he just rabbits, he'll be able to escape on out. So now back on down, they finish off the Bear, drop him low. There is, however, the Reality Rift. It's enough time to bait them through. Nice Burrow on 2. Tame My Wild is still stuck on in. He will get dropped here, but we're looking at Illidan. Can he make anything happen? Bulba a little bit too beefy for his taste. He does get a Reality off on TC. There was a relocate in for the Lina, popping off the Laguna, looking for more with Bulba. Just needs to go for the tether stun, but the cogs kind of disrupting that. Now another cog out. Oh, beautiful, beautiful hook. This one making up for the previous. However, can he get out with the Light Strike Array? With the Chaos Bolt, it's too much, and he does take a fall. Virtus Pro keeping it going, using NS's ultimate to jump Lina right back in after being picked off early, and from there getting the most out of all their cooldowns here. Really, really good fight for them. And although I really think Liquid played it very nicely at a lot of different points, there were a couple of moments where they were rather scattered.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the team fight as a whole was just kind of all over the place. Nobody was really focusing anything. Epi was all right. But it's like Fluff was way deep into the enemy team for some reason, and it just was all... Liquid wasn't kind of the well-oiled machine we had seen in Game 1. There's still definitely in this very high octane.
Looking for AA is going to get caught out here. Stoneform should be... No way. She knows she can't get out of that position there. They're just going to try to slow her down. A Grave Shield coming up in 3 seconds, and that should be enough to actually lock her down unless they choose to stand and fight. They are pulling him back, but Brewmaster with that blink actually trying to do some damage here. Arzart will be dropped from a single right-click from the Familiars. Bulba still in the action. They're actually going to change their target to Tame My Wild, who has absolutely no chance of TPing. 135 gold just kind of thrown on the ground as he desperately tries to flee from the scene. But in the end, Liquid gets a little bit of recompense for their loss previously, taking it 2 for nothing and now going for this tier 2 tower.
And I imagine they'll be able to take this one. KSI just kind of sitting mid. How's he looking for farm? He's got his phase boots on the bear, but then he's only got tranquils and a cloak on his main hero, so he's suffering. I mean, he was definitely struggling in lane against TC, so I'm not all that surprised TC could actually pick up his blink, and we're going to see it relocate mid.
Looking for a kill on Fluff. He doesn't have mech just yet, so this should be enough time. They can easily burn him down. They are underneath tower. This is Liquid's position where they feel very comfortable. Bliss is going to be dropped out from the relocate in 2 seconds, but it's enough time for Illidan to pick up the kill on the Rubik. Looking for more. TC does get an epicenter, though, slowing him on down. The battery assault still going on through, and yeah, now it's going to be enough to actually turn it around on the carry. They did get 2 for 1, but that 1 is going to be the carry, Illidan, and if the Chaos Knight can't be farming, if he's taking kills but then immediately being dropped down after the fact, it's going to be bad for them. However, going on Korok here, the Light Strike Ray doesn't hit, but the Laguna does. It's enough to burn down Korok. Looking for Bulba as well. They're not affected by Cogs, trying to get Disables to follow, and the Tornado will set it up nicely. Familiar's kind of just roaming around the fight, trying to do what damage they can, but it's pretty much all she wrote. Too much Disable from these bears, and Bulba is locked down pretty hardcore, but it looks like that with the expiration of that ultimate, the Primal Split, the Brewmaster doesn't want to go too deep, and Bulba gets away with an inch of his life. So much Disable, but Lina and the Brewmaster chained up their stuns a little bit too much, and from there the Clockwork walks away, only to come back in, earned and bottled himself up, and now Arzart in a terrible, terrible spot. Should be finished off, no problem. The question is, Tame My Wild. The mechanism comes out for Bulba. He's still alive. Can Tame get a kill onto Bulba, or is he just going to drop himself? Nice Light Trick Array steal. Too much damage coming out, and the Brewmaster does fall. Clockwork did get dropped down from the lone Druid on the back end. KSI and Illidan trying to do a lot here, but the blink away, it's really, really hard for them to stay on target. Call down dropping, not hitting on anything but the bear, and the relocate does pull NS, as well as Illidan out, leaving KSI for dead.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Bear's going to go down. It is on cooldown, so he is just going to have to try and run away, but I really don't expect him to
too much burrow, too much Grave Shield. Unless he's like the Juke Master, which is impossible against Familiars, he is definitely locked. But how do you feel about that fight as a whole?
I don't know. They managed to save Illidan, which I think is the best thing. He is farming quite well. He's looking towards a BKB, but I don't know, it's a little bit of a wash. I think, honestly, Liquid's team favors this constant aggression a little bit more. VP will be able to take fights when stuff like Split and when Phantasm
catching out Arzart. Nice. They actually channeled the epicenter for this. Might be a little too much, but the retaliation comes on through, making sure it hits on 3. Big damage going across. They don't have Primal Split, so both teams seem to be disengaging, but they got the pick off on the Lina. Korok also having dropped, though. Bulba missing the hook shot, and now they're just going to defend this tier 2. Everybody walking away. Yeah, Korok did get dropped, though. Brewmaster got the kill on that, and so for Alina, it's definitely not worth it. An epicenter cooldown as well.
Yeah, I was trying to say, Virtus Pro will definitely take, in my opinion, definitely take fights whenever Primal splits up. But I think that Liquid has the team that has a little bit of shorter. Ultimate cooldowns, call down very short, hookshot decently short, so they can constantly clash. They can constantly look to fight things, but that epicenter, they really need to maximize whenever that is up, because that's the thing that's going to give them those huge swings that allow them to tear down towers. It'll get them the like 4-0 exchanges and stuff like that that'll allow them to constantly get these to get the push going and allow them to crush down this team.
Yeah, that is... It's right now we see Illidan just going for the BKB. He's going to be having that in about, let's say, 600 gold here. Playing in a very cheeky environment, kind of going in the enemy's jungle here. It's not something that Liquid would expect, otherwise they would definitely punish them for it. But fortunately for them, they're pretty swift on their feet, and now Liquid coming by to see that their camps are pretty much non-existent. Realizing a little bit that they have been jacked in that regard, and so they're gonna try to maybe make somebody pay for it. They do see with an observer ward that there is some farm on the ancients, but again, it's very difficult to close that distance unless Boba gets one of the best hook shots of his life.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little awkward, and I mean, it looks like he's going towards a pipe, try and minimize some of this Lina damage. There is a smoke going up, so it looks like they're going to try and catch them out.
Yeah, Bulba, it's all about him. Bulba has to land a beautiful hook shot here. They don't have vision on him, so he has all the time in the world, but now finding out the Burrow Strike from Blink from TC will catch off NS, and he can't get the tether out. We do see Illidan just walking away, but just a single pick-off like that will still give them the edge they need. I mean, as far as late-game scalability, the Lone Druid and Chaos Knight dual core is rather scary, but right now the Lone Druid Chaos Eye doesn't have much to work with here. He got stomped in the bottom lane, so he does have a Maelstrom, but no Midas. He's actually pretty happy just to have taken that tier 2 tower, most likely, and from there, I really think that they're relying a lot on CK. That BKB will help him avoid a lot of this disable, a lot of this damage, but it's not gonna be the end-all be-all. And there are a lot of different ways that Liquid can circumvent the damage from that CK. And from there, I really think that Virtus.pro needs to win a fight with Primal Split, perhaps baiting it out with Roche or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, on either side, the Epicenter and the Primal Split, it's that ability that they seriously need to maximize. We're actually going to see a relocate into the Radiant jungle. They're trying to get Korok, but they're not going to be able to get in range for a Reality Rift.
And there's really no point for Bulba to go for a hookshot, even if he did have the vector for it. Actually, Tame My Wall in a terrible spot. Might have to pop an ulti just to escape here, because they do have a lot of follow-up. He does actually get his blink off, no damage coming on through, so TMW will be just TPing on away. But, yeah, in that position there, the CK and the Wisp in the jungle, they were really desperate for to make something happen. But in this position where you don't know where the enemy is, you can only do so much. That could have been atrocious if they lost his BKB money. CK wouldn't have been able to compete very well in the next fight, and so on and so forth. So I think that they're good that they're going for attempts, they're trying to go for action, but if they don't have reliable vision on the enemy, that might be a risk that's going to cost them.
Yeah, it's... I mean, honestly, I'm not 100% sure what either team should be looking to do, because as it stands now, Korok should be able to out-carry this for a short period, just because of the fact that Lone Druid doesn't really have a whole lot. So it's going to end up at some point, if things keep going at this pace, it's going to be Korok versus the CK, and Flat Cannon, if you get enough damage on a Gyro, is so much team fight power, along with the cooldown, along with the Epi, and I think it'll allow them to have a little bit of a window, but then if things go even beyond that, the Lone Druid will start creeping back in once he gets the Radiance, once he gets the Assault Cuirass, he'll start doing some good damage. And I think then things will get a little bit scary for Liquid, and I don't know if they'll be able to pull back, so I think they need to look to make things happen in game a little bit, just get towers down.
Yeah, it's way too late for Radiance in my opinion, but he is going to get that Vlad's pretty quickly, and that'll help CK very much in staying the action. We see it sometimes on Brewmaster, but it looks like he just wants a little bit of extra survivability himself. A cloak goes a long way, because he already has physical effective HP. He gets dodge from his passive, and also a mischance from his disable. So putting those two on the board, it's really the magic damage that he's concerned about. And from there, the cloak was a good pickup temporarily, but it looks like now he's going to transition over towards an Aghanim Scepter. And once he gets that, he can do more damage and keep his bears alive and sustaining well with a rank 4 ultimate later on in the game. But for right now, we do see Virtus.pro doing a lot of damage on towards Roshan, going for, oh, that's a very unfortunate misplay, getting the kill on a illusion in the mid lane, and that's just kind of wasting the relocate there. But it was also a bit of a distraction ploy in the sense that now they will finish off this Roche without any retaliation.
Yeah, so that's going to be Aegis on KSI. It'll allow him to, even though he doesn't really have any farm, he'll be able to just go in, mix things up, get those entangles off without having to really worry. Korok looks like he is picking up a Black King bar, and then most likely I think he'll go for a Monkey King bar just because, like you had said, the dodge chance on the Brew, the mischance from the Drunken Haze, that'll allow him to avoid all of that. And because if you're looking to do flat cannon shots, it'll actually mess up if you do them onto the Brewmaster himself.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't like take charges away, but it will make it so that it's taking another extra auto attack or two to be able to actually send them through to everybody else. So generally speaking, the best course of action is just to attack a different target. But after that, the flat cannon is still only 6 shots, and it's not like Gyro's running a Demon Edge type component item. He's still sitting on Drums, Yasha, BKB. It'll do some big damage, but Brew is still too tanky for that, and he's going to be able to have some pretty good effective health. But I was talking about a Vlad's. I thought that armor aura would be amazing for their team right now, just surviving on through flat cannon, etc. But it looks like KSI is kind of prioritizing that armlet here. Do you feel that that's the better course of action, or?
Oh, definitely. Like you had said, it's a little too late for the Radiance, and the armlet is a nice, cheap way to get some armor on the bear. Generally, that's why you end up going for the Assault Cuirass, is because the bear has a lot of HP, it has some magic resist, but it has very low armor, so it can get torn down by right clicks. So the armlet gives it some better damage, like we had talked about in Game 1, and it also gives it some cheap armor. So, and then he'll later go for that.
On mid, they're actually initiating here. Korok is popping that BKB up there. Epicenter does come on through. A lot of damage on the Lone Druid. He will drop a the Panda ultimate will drop quickly as well as his Bear. But it's NS in the fray with the Chaos Knight doing a lot of damage to Bulba, bringing him down quickly. The BKB popped as well, but Bulba's still alive, walking away. They change their focus target, but NS jumps on out with that relocate. Now we do see they get the kill on the Rubik. They turn it around onto Arzard. Now it's just back and forth. Such a chaotic team fight, but that's what CK specializes in as he pulls back in Fluff for an easy kill to clean on through. This was a fight that they wanted to take, but they shouldn't have, because when that Primal Split came out, it locked them in position where the Chaos Knight and Wisp could just jump up towards the mid lane. They got the pressure on the top lane. Now that's pushing in towards the base a little bit here, but they also got a lot of kills in that team fight, and the Epicenter wasn't that big of a deal. The Veil, I'm not sure if it got popped off or not, but either way, that wasn't what they were looking for. We do see Reality Rift on to Bulba, but he is really beefy right now, even at only level 12. So it's going to be hard either way. Bulba actually missing his hookshot, though, and it looks like neither one has the ability to close the distance, even though KSI is so darn low.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're starting to see one of the biggest holes in Liquid's strategy here. The reason they had most likely drafted this Sand King was because they were looking for some big team fight with Call Down, the Epicenter. But when you've got 3 very beefy people in the Chaos Knight, the Lone Druid, and the Brewmaster, they're all very difficult to take down, and it'll allow you to just, like, they don't really care about Epicenter at this point. It does some good damage, it'll shred through the Wisp, it'll shred through Lina, but for the most part it'll take down Brew and CK to like maybe a third down, but it is not that huge fearful team fight.
Korok in a bad spot. 4 seconds stun with the Luna. It should be enough to bring him down. The mechanism doesn't come in time. Chaos Knight doing a lot of damage now. Jumping onto Ike's Mike, burning him down immediately. The TC again. That Epicenter not doing enough, even with the Veil of Discord now getting killed himself. Dusted, stunned, and finally killed. They do get a TP out from the Visage, so Fluff does manage to sneak his way on out of there, but the Relocate, they actually were looking for try to clean up on Bulba. They almost caught him, but he chose a completely different route here, going down into his jungle, and very fortunate that he did opt for that there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been such a very nice escape. Either way, though, the push on this tier 2 will be swift, with the fact that the backdoor protection will fall without fortification available, so they do at least take something out of this, a long-term advantage from the short-term teamfight win.
Yeah, and honestly, things are looking grim for Liquid. I think they went for a little bit of an interesting play with the unorthodox lanes, a bit of a strange draft, but it didn't work out like they were hoping. CK is just massive at this point. Even Lone Druid's starting to get some items up. He's got a Maelstrom on the bear. He's got his Vlad's
They're trying to retaliate this, but it's not happening. Call down to disengage? No. Every single time they come forward, Reality Rift just pulls them right back. And now he's just doing way too much. He one-shot IX Mike. He pulled IX Mike in, and his illusions just destroyed it. Now the Phantasms are down, but it doesn't matter. They're just picking them apart, one by one by one. This isn't even a team fight. It's lambs walking to the slaughter. They're desperate to keep their racks. They know that that's their last foothold, and instead they just kind of walk into it. Onyx Mike first, but everybody else pretty much follows suit. I can't really blame anybody in that exchange. They knew they were pretty well down and out, and now we see this advantage get just overwhelming with a 10k gold, 15k experience.
Yeah, and it looks like, there you go, Liquid calls the GG just because they needed Korok to get actual items. And as it stands now, he's only got the BKB. Okay, great, you're survivable, and you won't be disabled. Well, entangled. He's got Drum. Okay, you run super fast. You got a Yasha. You do no damage. Versus this Chaos Knight that, like you said, he's one-shotting IX Mike. He's one-shotting Fluff. And he's just going to start shredding people. You got Lone Druid running around, entangling people, and just putting in some general damage. Lina with all those nukes. Wisps doing a little whatever he can. Wisp doesn't really add much to team fights, but as it stands, like, there's nothing that Liquid could really do to come back from this, because they weren't going to win an out carry, and the epicenter had gotten to the point where it wasn't enough damage to be a real threat. Same thing with Call Down.
Which is kind of surprising because it's only 30 minutes of the game. He has a rank 3 Epi and a Veil, but like you said, they drafted beefy heroes. The Lone Druid is agility technically, but he's still sitting at 2200 HP. That's plenty to work with here. Brewmaster as well at 2k, and the CK has plenty to work with that armlet toggle to bring him well over 100 HP. So that is, or sorry, 100 strength. Yeah, sitting more towards 120 strength. He's got just so much potential there, and they weren't even really forced to pick up cloaks or anything like that. We saw one cloak up on the Brewmaster, one on the Lone Druid, but it's really just a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of extra help in that to make sure they tip them over the edge, that they're going to be in a good spot. But in general, it was just too much for them to handle. They realized they were down and out, that TC didn't get enough out of it, and that's kind of a little bit uncharacteristic. He topped out on CS, but when it came down to it, VP had the right focus. Every single team fight, they kept on throwing Korok into the fire. They reality rifted him, they disabled him, they pulled him out of position over and over and over. The BKB finally came out, and it didn't change enough. They got the kills, they found their opportunities, and I can't say that it really came down to anything in the laning phase, because it was really back and forth, but in the end, in the mid-game, it just came out too concrete that Liquid couldn't 5v5 as strong up against that Brewmaster ulti, and from there, we obviously, that's all she wrote in this one. We do see Virtus.pro taking it back 1-1 now, in this being Game 2 of the best of 3 series, so we're going to be looking at Game 3 in just a little bit. You have any other closing thoughts on the match here?
No, I think I'll just say that I think Liquid should stick with putting TC on a hard carry. Like, if he had taken the gyro, I think they might have been in a little bit of a better situation. Nothing against Korok, but TC just has so much experience as being that I'm going to farm forever and then come by in the team fight like at 25 minutes and just kill everybody. So I think they need to just go with a bit more of a classic draft, not try any funky stuff like they did in this game, and just play a clean, simple game of Dota. Not try and be flashy or trend-setting, just win.
Yeah, most definitely. And one other thought that I have to close out with here is the Rubik and how little of an impact it made whatsoever. We already talked about the first 3 picks they had. Didn't really make that very good for Rubik in the first place. It didn't bode well for him with those kinds of steals on the board, but we didn't even see a Brewmaster ultimate steal. He has a low cast animation. If you can just survive through the Brewmaster ulti, then you can always get that steal if you're in a good position. And from there, obviously, having that primal split for yourself can be amazing, but the problem is Rubik couldn't survive. Ix Mike 2, 7, and 12, he was always getting picked. Really, really well focused. I said the Korok got pulled in really, really bad spots, but we do see Rubik over and over and over again, and just not standing a chance. And from there, yeah, I think that Ix Mike just didn't really get the opportunity for the steals that he was looking for, and that really shut down their counter team fight as well. So in the end, we definitely see it coming down to the 5v5 because Wisp CK forces them to play in that way, and of course it comes down to Virtus.pro taking the win here. So this was pretty awesome to cast. I am Blaze, and this is Blightwind. You want to mention your URLs real quick?
Yep, you guys can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Blightwind, and you can find me on Twitter at Blight_Dota. And then if you go on YouTube and just search up Blightwind Dota, you'll be able to find my channel. It's got a bit of a funky name, so that's a better way to find it.
Alright then, and that's going to be it. So moving on to Game 3, a couple songs in the meantime, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.